Welcome to the Edo Lady Traveler's Guide. I'm your Edo Storyteller, ready to take you back 200 years in time. In our last episode, we discussed the definition of travel, and in this episode, we are officially hitting the road. Now, I want you to look down at your feet. You are wearing a pair of easily worn out straw sandals, looking at the seemingly endless 500-kilometer road stretching from Edo all the way to Kyoto. You might be thinking to yourself, oh my god, do I really have to walk this entire way? Can I catch a palanquin? Or could someone at least get me a horse? In a lot of historical dramas or movies, we often see the main characters looking incredibly cool, galloping on horseback into the sunset. But in the reality of the Edo period, especially for an ordinary female traveler, horses were usually not meant for riding, they were meant for carrying cargo. But before we can even talk about the vehicle of travel, we need to talk about the history of the streets themselves. In ancient Japan, unlike modern asphalt roads, where you can walk steadily even in high heels, the road conditions were generally terrible. The fact that we now have the smooth, flat Gokaido, which means the 5 routes to walk on, and comfortable post stations to rest at, is actually the result of over 400 years of hardware updates. In today's episode, we are going to uncover the origin story of 5 routes. Hidden behind this is the secret of rule that allowed Tokugawa Ieyasu to transform Japan from a war-torn, chaotic nation into the golden age of Edo. The 5 routes were essentially a military internet, paved by generations of overlords, from Minamoto no Yoritomo to Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and finally Tokugawa Ieyasu. First, we need to learn a key vocabulary word, Tenma. Simply put, these were official relay horses. This system can be traced back to ancient times, but it really started to take shape during the Kamakura period. The shogun at the time, Minamoto no Yoritomo, needed a way to keep in touch with the imperial court in Kyoto. So, in the first year of Bunji in 1185, he made a rule: no matter whose territory you were crossing, any official envoy traveling from Kamakura to Kyoto had the right to draft local horses. This was all about maintaining contact, essentially a military hotline. However, by the time the Muromaji period rolled around, the shogunate had lost its muscle and couldn't control its subordinates, so the system fell apart. Ironically, it was during the chaotic Sengoku period, which means warring states, that regional warlords like the Imagawa Hojo and Takeda clans built up their own Tenma system or relay horses system just to keep tight control over their own territories. Before Tokugawa Ieyasu united the realm, 2 absolute MVPs laid an incredibly strong foundation for these roads. For our future female travelers, what these 2 men did was an absolute godsend. The first MVP is Oda Nobunaga. He achieved the abolition of toll fees. Before Nobunaga, when you walked down the road, every time you passed through a minor lord's territory, you had to pay a sekisen, which means a toll fee. Those tolls alone could eat up half your travel budget. But to stimulate commerce, Nobunaga tore down these private checkpoints. This allowed goods to flow smoothly and instantly. The second MVP is Toyotomi Hideyoshi. He standardized the length of the roads. Before him, every region had a different definition of how long one ri was. Hideyoshi set a firm rule: 36 cho equal 1 ri, about 4 kilometers. Furthermore, he started building ichirizuka, which means milestones. Think of this as the mile markers on a modern highway. Every single ri, or 4 kilometers, they planted a tree so travelers knew exactly how far they had walked. Thanks to Nobunaga's tax-free policy and Hideyoshi's standardization, Japan's roads finally began to transform from fragmented puzzle pieces into a preliminary traffic network. Here, we need to bust a major myth. Tokugawa Ieyasu did not invent the Tokaido. As I mentioned earlier, the origins of this road trace back to the Kamakura period. As early as 1185, the year the Taira clan was destroyed, Minamoto no Yoritomo started setting up post stations equipped with Tenma, or relay horses, to keep in touch with Kyoto. This is the prototype of the post station. It was a place specifically for government officials to swap horses for free, functioning somewhat like a modern official vehicle station. But the Tokaido that Yoritomo built back then followed a completely different route from the one we know today. According to records from 1189, the route at that time went from Kyoto to Ozu, then headed north, passed through the Fuwa barrier in Gifu Prefecture, and finally led to the Tokai region. This is completely different from the coastal route designated later by the Edo shogunate. So, if you time traveled to the 12th century to walk the Tokaido, you would get completely lost holding an Edo era map. This system developed through the Kamakura and Muromaji periods. Although it always existed, because of the messy wars during the Sengoku period in between, much of the infrastructure crumbled. It wasn't until that man, Tokugawa Ieyasu, appeared that this road was adjusted back to its current location. Finally, it's time for our main character, Tokugawa Ieyasu, to make his entrance. After winning the epic battle of Sekihara in 1600, Ieyasu held absolute power. He absorbed all the achievements of his predecessors and upgraded them into the early modern Tenma system. In 1601, Ieyasu ordered the development of the 53 station of the Tokaido, which meant setting up 53 post stations, and this is the version of the Tokaido we see today. Next, making Nihonbashi the starting point, Tokugawa Ieyasu established 5 major arteries known as the Gokaido, or the 5 routes. Since we will have a detailed special episode specifically introducing the 5 routes, I won't explain too much here. But why did road infrastructure improve so fast at the start of the Edo period? Historian Professor Koda Kodama proposed a hilarious and fascinating theory. This entire project was actually forced out by Ieyasu's private itinerary. There are 2 reasons. Reason 1. After the Battle of Sekigahara, although Ieyasu's base was in Edo, He constantly had to travel to Fushimi Castle or Osaka Castle in Kyoto for business. To make his own commute convenient, the road had to be flawless. Reason 2. This is the big one. In 1605, Ieyasu passed the title of shogun to his son, Hidetada, and went to Sunpu, or modern-day Shizuoka, to live his retired life. But he retired without stepping down, still pulling all the strings. So the son in Edo constantly had to visit Shizuoka to pay his respects, and the dad in Shizuoka was constantly firing off official documents to Edo. Coupled with the frequent back and forth communication of their retainers, the facilities on the stretch of road from Edo to Shizuoka become incredibly luxurious and heavily fortified. To put it bluntly, the Tokaido at the time was basically the Tokugawa family's private express commuter then. Furthermore, Tokugawa Ieyasu abolished the private toll booths set up in various regions and replaced them with a post station system managed uniformly by the shogunate. His goal was singular, the speed of intelligence. If someone rebelled in Kyushu, he needed to know within a few days. So, this road was actually the Edo shogunate's fiber optic network, and the posted stations were the servers. So, Tokugawa Ieyasu successfully built his high-speed fiber optic network. The roads are widened and the post stations are officially set up. Hearing all this, you might be thinking, great, the infrastructure is finally done. Can I just rent a horse now, rest my tired feet, and enjoy a smooth, romantic ride to Kyoto? Well, hold your horses, literally. While these post towns look incredibly romantic in historical dramas, the reality behind them was built on sweat and tears. Next time, we are going to dive into the gritty reality of this transportation network. We'll talk about the brutal blood tax forced upon the local villagers just to keep these horses fed. And for you, our exhausted female traveler, we will finally introduce you to the Edo Uber, the rental horses. But trust me, sitting 2 meters in the air on a wobbly pile of rice bags and soy sauce barrels, while a half-naked horseman sings folk songs, is not the luxury ride you are imagining. Before we wrap up, I want to specifically let everyone know that the content of every single episode of the Edo Lady Traveler's Guide is the crystallization of my hard work, painstakingly researched by reading a massive amount of specialized book, academy papers, and ancient documents by Japanese scholars. I hope to pass on the warmth of this history to you in the most relaxing way possible. If you like the stories I've put together, please subscribe to the Edo Lady Traveler's Guide, leave a 5-star review, and share the show with even more friends. This is the greatest encouragement in the world for an Edo storyteller like me. I'm your Edo storyteller, and I will see you next time. Bye!